Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
When them people come here and they ask you who done this, you tell them Mickey, Mallory, Knox did it, all right? Say it.
Mickey and Mallory, Knox did it.
Hello and welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show, to a DVD and Blu-ray section. Coming up in this section after the DVD and Blu-ray top 10, we'll have reviews of these movies.
Snow White and the Huntsman. It's the second film out this year about Snow White, isn't it? Yep, after Mirror Mirror.
Yes.
Moonrise Kingdom, the latest quirky comedy from Wes Anderson. Horror film The Pact. Casa, Padre with Will Ferrell. Horror thriller in a way of Bereavement, and the DVD alternative is The Kingdom.
Yeah, before that though, let's get straight into the DVD and Blu-ray top 10, or rather top 11, because I want to cover the film that's at 11. Just to get gone in this week from last week's new releases, Angel's Share, which is a enjoyable Scottish comedy about a group of sort of down and outs who are sort of involved in trying to get out of their terrible lives because they get interested in whiskey and distilleries and such like that, which is a surprisingly enjoyable film. But we'll go and move on straight into the top 10 now with The Lion King at number 10.
Yeah, it's the first of a Disney film in the top 10, because I'm guessing Disney have got another one of those buy one get one free promotions on.
They have, yes.
To every single year, and so for the next, well, while they've got that promotion on, we will probably guarantee to see a Disney film in the top 10. This one is your favourite, isn't it, Andy? The Lion King.
I think it is.
Disney
yeah,
film?
my favourite hand drawn one, not Pixar related. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe disagree with them. I do. Obviously, I think everybody really likes the Lion King. It has musical numbers in it. It'll make kids really happy for the 90 minutes that it's on. It's a really good film. Unfortunately, it's spawned a few sequels that weren't that good at all.
Yeah. Well, no, the second one's awful. The third one is actually quite fun and enjoyable. Number 9 is the other Disney film that we've got in the top 10, Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah, a classic, more of a classic than The Lion King. This is going back to, I'm probably getting the year wrong, 60s, I'm guessing. It's around about that era there. It's the classic tale with, I think everybody has seen the scene where they see the two dogs eating the spaghetti and they push the meatball to it. It's been parodied in a lot of other films, so a lot of Disney stuff has been parodied in a lot of other films as well. Again, Lady and the Tramp's a classic, and it's in there because of the buy one get one frees.
And number 8 is The Pirates in an Adventure with Scientists, which I'm not sure you've seen yet, have you?
Nope.
No. It's the Aardman animation, stop motion, with a group of pirates who find out that their parrot is in fact a dodo, the last of its kind, and as a result of that, when they try and board a ship of scientists with Charles Darwin on board, he then sees a way to win the Nobel Prize for finding the last remaining dodo, and hilarity ensues. It's a fun film, but it's just unfortunately largely forgettable. It's not. I've seen it now twice, and there's bits in it that I thought were funny, but the rest of it, it's just it could have been better. I'll say there. And number 7 is Taken.
Yeah, the reason why this is still in there is because Taken 2 is out this Friday. Andy's going to see it and he'll be reviewing it next week. It's just Liam Neeson on the "Where's my family" kind of thing. He's hunting down for his daughter this time, I think it is, isn't it? In the first one, it's his wife in the second one, daughter in the first one. It's just a typical movie.
Are you saying you haven't seen Taken?
I haven't seen it for ages. For a while. Yeah, I haven't seen it for...
The Where's My Family thing is more Harrison Ford than Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson's just...
But Liam Neeson does tend to have a Where's My Family thing as well. Along with Harrison Ford. I think both of them are the same. Both of them are always hunting down for at least a member of their family. Well, Liam Neeson didn't do it in his last film, which I can't remember the name of. That one in the snoring, where he's in the plane crashing.
That was very good, yeah, I'll say that. But yeah, again, in that film, he still was very. You can really make out what he said unless you had the volume up really loud. Moving on.
You can just imagine though if he actually played Bane, how his voice would have been. Can
you imagine if he'd been Batman? You wouldn't have been able to make out a single word he said at all. Number 6, American Pie Reunion.
Yeah, problem with the American Pie series now, it's become majorly stale. The fact that this is the 4th featuring most of the original cast, it's like the 8th in the American Pie films. It treads exactly the same ground as the first one, it's just that they're 10 years older, but none the wiser. They just seem to follow exactly the same formula. It's not very funny at all, which is unfortunate again, because I do have a soft spot for the American Pie films, apart from the 3rd movie, which is rubbish.
Number 5 is The Hunger Games.
Yeah, The Hunger Games. There's nothing much more we can actually say about The Hunger Games. I think we've said everything we can about the film. It's a really, really good film, but if you're below the age of 12, I wouldn't show it to anybody below the age of 12 for the last hour of the movie, considering that how violent it does get.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting as well that the DVD is the edited cinema version, which is rated 12. The Blu-ray is the uncut American version, which was rated 15. So there's that to bear in mind as well. Number 4, a new entry for The Cabin in the Woods.
Which I'm ashamed of everybody because it should have been number 1. I love this film. This is the film that we deemed to reinvent horror. Horror needed a bit of a push because sick of seeing these movies about ghosts and possessions and stuff like that. And then, yeah, The Cabin in the Woods was made 4 years ago and it was shelved for quite a while. It's directed by Drew Goddard, who worked on Cloverfield, and it's written and produced by Joss Whedon, and it's written by Drew Goddard. If you watch the documentary, the making of documentary, it's interesting how they created the film. The fact that Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon worked in separate rooms. And if they came up with a brilliant idea, they would meet up with each other and speak to each other about the ideas. And considering the amount of ideas on show in the film itself, it is just unbelievable that they managed to make a movie as so coherent as this. Because it could have been a mess, but it's such a fun horror film.
Number 3, again, a new entry this week for The Raid.
Yeah, it's directed by Welsh director Gareth Evans. It's his first big film because he's made a few small short stories, short films and documentaries as well. It's a martial art movie, which surprised me, the fact that it is a really, really good film. I was speaking to somebody on Twitter the other day who's a huge fan of martial art movies, but he didn't like this that much. He thought it was just all guns, too many guns and not much arse kicking in it, to put it nicely. And I completely disagree in a way, because there is a lot of butt kicking in the film, and the choreography in the film, the fight scenes are really well done.
There's only real sort of gun use in the first sort of half an hour. The rest of it is purely fists and knives and teeth and shoes and everything. Number 2, again, new entry, unbelievably, for The Dictator.
Yeah, Cabin in the Woods, new entry at number 4, The Dictator at number 2. It shows you how many idiots are out there. This is a god-awful film. I've probably gone and wasted us a few listeners there, haven't I? It's a god-awful film. It's Sacha Baron Cohen thinking that he's funny by bringing another one of his creations to the big screen. This time it's an original creation in The Dictator. But it's not funny at all. It's such a chauvinistic character. The fact that he portrays women like just pieces of crap, to put it nicely. It's not funny whatsoever. It's in my top 10 worst films of the year. It's just a majorly avoidable film, and it should not have been in the top 10.
Which means still at number 1 for second week in a row, which I think this year might be the first time that's happened, because I don't think there's been another film that hung around more than a week at the top. Is The Avengers Assemble.
Yeah, how much more can we say about Avengers Assemble? We can't say anything else that's new and different, can we? It's sort of like Batman syndrome, because when we come to review The Dark Knight Rises, and when we come to explain it in the top 10, we're not going to be able to say anything, because we've already said everything we can about Avengers, except it's a brilliant film.
Only thing that I can really want to say is that's really annoying is that there's no Joss Whedon commentary on it.
Yeah, the extras in this in the UK seem to be lacking, considering also if you want a really good documentary to go with it, you have to buy it from Sainsbury's to get a 90-minute documentary, which is annoying. Yeah.
That's a bit. I hate that too. That's kind of a trying to think of the right word to say other than
Unless somebody from Sainsbury's is listening and they want to give us a couple of free copies, then we'll be happy and see Sainsbury's is a really nice place.
Well, I don't know. Have you ever been to one? I haven't been to one for a while.
No, well, I bought my copy of. I got my copy of The Cabin in the Woods from them and it came on the day of release. However, I did receive an email saying that some copies are broken and they skip and stuff like that. And unfortunately, mine was one of those copies. But
yes, I heard about that. I forgot about that, yes.
At least they replaced it.
We're going to take a quick break. After that, we'll be back with our first review of the DVDs this week.
Kids, there's nothing more cool than listening to a podcast you like. But if someone podcasts in a place or in a way that you find unfunny, that's no good. So what do? First, you say, lol no. Second, you tell them to GTFO. Third, you get some lolocaust in your luggoles. And most importantly, you have to tell someone. Like your parents, your teacher, or a police officer. We are the Lolocaust. 9 o'clock, Wednesday nights, lolocaust.co.uk. We don't clash with The Apprentice anymore.
Set me free. Trust me and we will escape from the city.
Welcome back. Let's get straight into our first review, which Stuart is going to do. And you're not allowed to use the G word on this one. I think I'm going to outlaw the G word on this. See if you can challenge that.
Good.
Well, that as well. That's up to you. But the other G word.
Okay, then I'll try my best not to use that. This is Snow White and the Huntsman. It's directed by Rupert Sanders, and the opening of the film is a voiceover just explaining the birth of Snow White and how it came about. The fact that Snow White was born, a year later the mother dies, the father he sort of like misses the mother, and he ends off after a sort of like a scuffle, a fight with this band of men. Well, this band of things, not men. They think that they're men, but they're things. Discovers a woman was actually captive, and according to the voiceover, the next year the king marries her. That's got to be the quickest wedding ever. Even Britney Spears must be proud of that. He decides to marry her, and obviously that night, again, this is the quickest thing ever. She ends off killing him. It's I forgot to mention the character's name. It's Ravenna, played by Charlize Theron. She ends off killing the king and taking over the kingdom itself. She then kidnaps captures Snow White and puts her into this tower in the north tower of this castle where she's locked up for the rest of her life. Numerous years pass since Snow White has grown up, and now she's played by Kristen Stewart. It's Kristen Stewart. I always keep on thinking if it's Kirsten Stewart or Kristen Stewart. But Kristen Stewart, and she's locked up into this tower itself, and obviously the Queen, she's very vain. If you've read any of the Snow White stories, you know how this pans out. She then ends off escaping. Snow White then ends off escaping after the brother is sent up to the tower to bring down Snow White, because the Queen really wants the heart of Snow White, because it's pure and it's the only thing that can keep her immortal. So Snow White ends off escaping, and so the Queen decides to ask around for a huntsman to hunt down Snow White. Here's a clip.
My brother tells me you are a widower, a drunkard, and one of few who has ventured into the dark forest.
Aye.
One of my prisoners has escaped there.
Oh, and he's dead.
She.
She is certainly dead.
Find her. Bring her to me.
No, I've been to that forest. I'm not going back.
You will be rewarded handsomely.
What good is gold to me if I'm lying dead with the crows picking at my eyes? Why is she of such value?
That is none of your concern.
I'll determine what concerns me, thank you.
You will do this for me, Huntsman!
And if I refuse?
So the Huntsman there, played by Chris Hemsworth, with the strangest Scottish accent ever. It's an Australian actor who's doing a Scottish accent.
I don't know that it's Scottish.
It sounded very Scottish.
It might be
to
Scottish
me.
by accident, but I don't think it's meant to be Scottish. I think it's meant to be Northern, but I don't know.
Yeah, it sounded very Scottish to me. But I wonder where they've gotten the idea. Sort of like a New Zealand Australian actor who does a really strange accent. I wonder who else could have done that. Well, the Huntsman is sent out to capture. I'm going to say her name again because Andy's just pointed us out. This will be the 11th time I've said it. Snow White, because obviously the Queen wants her, and during the journey of that, she ends off white. I'm not mentioning her first name anymore. She ends up supposedly being able to build herself up because she wants to raid the castle itself, and she does meet along the 7 dwarfs along the way, which they don't crop up until about an hour and 15 minutes into the film itself. Now, the problem with the movie is it's all style, no substance. The look of the film is really well, the first hour of the film is done really nicely. I really like the dark look of the film itself because previously to this, Mirror Mirror was I thought it was just a train wreck of a film. The last time Snow White film was done with a dark undertow was Snow White: A Tale of Terror, which starred...
Excuse me, sorry.
which starred Sigourney Weaver, charming. And that one was sort of like a more horror take on the story itself. This one, they've tried to go for a dark take to it, and for the first hour it sort of works. There is something there which works. It's dirty and it's grimy. It more looks like Game of Thrones rather than a sort of like a children's fairy tale. It's just when it gets into the last half of the film where it decides to just ditch all of that and go with lots of fairies and colour and stuff like that. And I was thinking, why did you do that? There is something in this film where there is something crying to be let free, that it's a dark Snow White film, but it's just not used properly enough. Kristen Stewart is just awful in the movie. She's like a puppet. It's like the director has just got her on a string and he's just moving her around and telling her to say this line and that line, and she's just a puppet.
That's kind of appropriate.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth is just honestly pointless. Absolutely pointless in the movie. The Huntsman in the movie is pointless. And the thing is, though, the sequel to this is going to focus all on the Huntsman rather than on White herself. And it's going to be interesting how they take that. As long as Hemsworth drops the accent and they make it a dark movie, then it might work. The dwarves are majorly underused. They're supposedly in for comic element. There are a lot of British actors in there. But I don't even think that they got an actual dwarf to play a dwarf, which is just strange in the film itself. And so I just felt that the movie, it was just lacking a lot of things, the acting especially, and it's just there wasn't enough story to back up the darkness of the movie, and there was something in there which was trying to get out, but it just was locked away. It's like it weren't allowed to. It's like that little kid where parents hate and just kick him in the corner and leave him. That's what this movie felt like. It's like the little orphan in the orphanage which nobody wants. And this is that movie. I really hope
there's no orphans listening to this. Be rather disappointed.
Yeah, maybe it's going to be one of those DVDs that is just hopefully left on the shelf and just collecting dust and just looking there, going, "Please watch me at least once, just so I can be played."
I dread the top 10 next week. I think it will be somewhere in the top 5, unfortunately.
Yeah, probably. But I just thought it was lacking a lot.
Okay, I'm going to go on to Moonrise Kingdom, which is written and directed by Wes Anderson, who, as anyone who's seen his films previously will know, has this weird style about his films. It's set during 1965, where in a New England town there's a sort of a group of these scouts, and they're all their troop is led by Edward Norton's character, Scoutmaster Ward, who is the chief of their whole troop, where there's this one kid there, I don't have his name written down, unfortunately. I think it's Sam, I think was his name, but he's the odd one out. All the other kids he doesn't get on with them. He's the weirdo sort of kid of the group, and he's having problems with just getting on with them, and eventually then decides that he is going to run away. Here's a clip.
Morning, Randy. What can I do for you? Over?
I'm not
sure exactly. I've got an escaped khaki scout. Over.
What does that mean, over?
One of my boys seems to have stolen a miniature canoe and some fishing tackle, 10 pounds of sundries, 2 bedrolls, plus an air rifle, and disappeared. Over.
Any idea why, over?
No, he left me a letter of resignation. Over.
Dear Scoutmaster Ward, I am very sad to inform you I can no longer be involved with the Khaki Scouts of North America. The rest of the troop will probably be glad to hear this. It is not your fault. Best wishes, Sam Tchaikovsky.
Well, I guess we better notify his folks. Over.
Okay, over and out.
So you have the police captain there, played by Bruce Willis, who then starts to investigate and look out for Sam, who's missing. He finds that what's actually also happened is a girl who lives with a family that he knows the mother of has actually disappeared as well. A girl named Susie, and the two of them have actually run away together and on this sort of a trail through this sort of group of islands in New England. Now, there is a bit more to it than that, but it's kind of odd to try and explain it because it's being a Wes Anderson film. It focuses a lot more on the characters and it's really weird trying to explain it. It's more about the characters and as they are interacting with each other, but he has this really bizarre way of just framing things and making it look so odd and yet at the same time making it funny. I genuinely laughed a lot throughout this film, but not so much at the story or the characters, but just in the way things were framed or certain things that happened. You have this whole thing of the troop that is then sent out looking for these two kids who have gone missing. You have the whole thing of that then, because it's set during the 1960s, you have the way that people behave at that time. You have the way Bruce Willis's captain is when he's police captain, when he's looking for them and trying to organise things. You have Edward Norton, who is just hilarious in this film because he's so prim and proper and everything, and it's the kind of thing that if you were there, you'd be like, come on, be real, don't be like this. But it's so oddly played. You've got in there as well Frances McDormand's in there as the mother of Susie. You have Tilda Swinton, who this is how weird Wes Anderson is. She works for social services because she's been brought in regarding the kids running away, and throughout the whole film she is just referred to by name as social services. She doesn't have a name beyond that. It's really bizarre. There's another big name in the film as well, which turns up later on, which was a surprise. I didn't know he was in it, and I genuinely laughed when he appeared. And it's oddly fun and just strangely entertaining. It's a weird film, but as anyone who knows Wes Anderson films knows, he really does do these weird films. It's only just over an hour and a half, so it's not a long film. And there's this really sort of weird breaking the fourth wall thing of a character who is... Normally you have a narrator and you just hear a voiceover. In this, you have a guy who's standing there talking to the camera, explaining things, and it's odd, and again, down to the framing. So if you like Wes Anderson's stuff, you'll love it. I think it's amongst his best films, my favourite films of his. I still don't know that it's better than Fantastic Mr. Fox, because I love that film. But it's that same strange oddity that he brings to his films that's just amazing.
Right, nice long pause. Right, I guess it's my turn to wake up and do a film. Then The Pact, directed by Nicholas McCarthy.
Are you calling me boring?
I think that silence says it all. It's The Pact. It's directed by Nicholas McCarthy. It's, like I said earlier on, I'm sick of seeing these films about possession and stuff like that, and unfortunately this is one of those movies. This was a movie that was just thrown into the cinemas. It was in the chart for about a week and then just left because nobody heard about it, nobody cared. It centres around a small little house where the mother has died. One of the daughters decides to go to the house itself to do all the business and stuff like that. She disappears, and so the second daughter, played by Katie Lutz, who plays Annie, she decides to come into the house to try and find out what's actually happened, investigate what's happened to not only the mother but also to her sister. However, strange things happen in this house. She needs help from a police officer, played by Casper Van Dien, who then both of them decide to go to this psychic, played by Haley Hudson, who plays Stevie, to come into the house to find out what's going on. And she tells her that something strange is going on, but it's not just about a ghost that's happening. Something else might be going on in this house. And so the whole rest of the film is about Agnes trying to come to terms with what's happened with her mother and the spooky things that's going on, but also something else that's happening. The film itself is just completely forgettable because there's nothing in this movie apart from Haley Hudson, who plays Stevie, because her character is so ghostly, so like really eerie, that in a way you feel sorry for her, because she's got a really pale white face with sort of like Black Panther eyes in a way. And you really want to give her some food and give her a hot blanket and give her a nice warm place to sit, because she looks like she's never had comforts in her life. And her character is played brilliantly. It's just unfortunate that the rest of the film is just completely forgettable. There is a twist in a way in the movie, which you do see coming, but it's okay handled. But the rest of the film, it decides to go with this possession thing, and it's a bit pointless because it only happens a couple of times in the movie. And the twist, which is revealed about 45 minutes into the film, is much more interesting than the possession in the house that's happening. And so the film itself is just completely forgettable. It's one of those movies where if you see it for a couple of pounds, you'll think to yourself, why not? I'll buy it and I'll give it a watch, and it'll pass 90 minutes away fine, but it's nothing special at all.
Okay, Casa di mi Padre, which I'm not saying again, was directed by Matt Piedmont. It stars Will Ferrell as Armando, who is a rancher on a ranch in Mexico. The start of the thing is the whole film is in Spanish or Mexican, with Will Ferrell speaking Mexican and everyone else. It's all Mexican set. You've got all the characters in there, and he is on this ranch with his father, and he's got his couple of other ranchers there that are employed help. Everything seems to be going fine. He's looking forward to one day taking over the ranch, when his younger brother Raul turns up with his fiancée, played by his fiancée Sonia, played by Genesis Rodriguez, who the two of them are there to sort of see things and make some look at making some changes to the ranch and the way it's run. And the father is going to actually pass over things to Raul instead of Armando. The whole thing then sort of kicks off with this whole sort of love interest, because of the fact that Armando and Sonia realise that they start to have feelings for each other. And it's a weird sort of comedy thing. We don't have a clip because it is all in Mexican, so you wouldn't understand it. It's really hard to try and explain this, because the fact is that it's kind of like a Mexican exploitation film crossed with a spoof. There are things in it where there's like a bit where Will Ferrell's standing around with a couple of the hired help who are his friends, and he's sitting there, and they're all sitting on horses, just sitting there talking, and he makes a joke, and they have this whole thing like Dr. Evil in Austin Powers, where everyone laughs, and then everyone laughs, and then everyone laughs, and then everyone laughs. And it's just those kind of things, that kind of gag throughout the film. But then there's weird things like it turns into musical at different points. There is a couple of bits in it I did genuinely laugh at. There's a bit involving a kind of a fight between a lion and coyotes, but being that it's a small film and there's no real coyotes and no real lions, it's a fake thing, and it pops up on the screen with a weird disclaimer saying that there was an amazing fight here, but it's not. And there's little weird things in there like that, but it's just not enough to make it a film. It's just, it doesn't know what it wants to be. You can't cross exploitation with a spoof like this. It doesn't work, and it's just it's so overly acted. It's intentionally overly acted, but it's just awful cheese. I mean, it's really, really that bad. I struggled with it, and by the end of it, I was just like, oh, thank God it's over, because it's just horrible. Really, really awful. I can't imagine anyone, even if they're big Will Ferrell fan will love this. It's only 84 minutes, and my God, does it drag. I cannot recommend it. I don't think it's amongst the worst films I've seen this year, because there are worse films than this, but I can see why some other reviews of it really panned it, because it deserves it. It's quite terrible.
Right, yeah, you struggled with that one, and I struggled with this film, Bereavement. It's directed by Stephen Mina, and it's set in 1989. And the start of the film, you see this guy driving around in his sort of like really horrible truck. It's a truck that you normally see in these kind of films where you suspect that the person behind the wheel is a nasty person. In this case, exactly it is, because he sees this kid on a swing and he kidnaps this kid. The film then fast forwards 5 years later. During that time, he's kept this kid, Martin, locked up, and he brings him out every single time he commits a murder. Now, coming into this town also is Alison, played by Alexandra Daddario, and she has had to live with her uncle and aunt because her mother has passed away, and she's come from like the big city into this small rundown town. And so she's having to deal with the fact that she's got no mother now, she's passed away, and she's struggling in school. And all the while she keeps on passing this rundown factory where Martin is in this factory itself, because this is the place where he's been kidnapped by this person. And this person is constantly showing Martin every single time when he kills somebody. Here's a clip.
Melissa, I think my hand is coming loose. He's coming. Don't make a sound. We're gonna get out of here.
When steer are led to slaughter, they smell the stench of fear and blood, and they panic. Sometimes we'd have to saw off their hind legs so they couldn't run.
No, please. No. No. Oh, God!
Hold her still!
And so that's one of the victims of the serial killer. The serial killer does not have a name. You never know what the name of the serial killer is through the film. And so during the movie itself, it is centered mainly around Alison and Martin. Martin's the kid who's been kidnapped, and Alison is the one has to live with her aunt and uncle. And she sees Martin in the window one day, but nobody actually believes her, the fact that somebody's there. And more through the film, people start getting kidnapped by this guy and killed, and there is a running thing through the film. Every single time somebody's killed or whatever, nobody decides to phone the police. That's the parents of the kids who get kidnapped, or anybody, any member of the family phones the police to say that the member of my family has been kidnapped or has gone missing or whatever. Can you go and investigate? The police is never involved until the last bit of the film. Nobody notices anybody going missing. Specifically, there's one girl who's kidnapped from a diner, and nobody notices that she's gone. Nobody at work notices that she's gone. And it was a thing that nagged me throughout the movie. The movie is extremely violent. It's rated 15, and it should have been rated 18, because the violence in this is extreme to some levels. There is a lot of blood in the movie, but for some reason it just did not interest me whatsoever. The movie itself is extremely boring. It's supposed to be dark and it's in the way it twisted, because the serial killer keeps on hearing voices from these skulls that he's got on his walls, who keep on saying to him, kill these people because God has told you to do it. And it's just a rubbish excuse. The film, it's just boring, even though there is a lot of death and gore in the film, and I just avoid it. Just avoid it.
So for the DVD alternative, I'm down my tongue. What I've chosen this week is The Kingdom, which is from 2007. It's directed by Peter Berg. It's a film about a group of FBI agents who are sent over to the Middle East to investigate an American facility where there's been a bomb attack made and quite a lot of people have been killed. It's sort of a compound for all the staff of the oil companies and such that are over there. And when they're over there, things then start to kick off with they're investigating this sort of group of terrorists and trying to sort of trace to where their leader is. The group is led by Jamie Foxx's character. I can't think what his name is, but he's the main lead of it. But there is a decent cast in there as well. You've got Chris Cooper in the cast, who's always brilliant. Jason Bateman, who's decent in the film as well. You've got Jennifer Garner in there playing a really good sort of strong female character in it. And you've also got some actors in there that are from the Middle East that are playing really good, strong, positive characters, as well as you have some decent actors in there as for the terrorist parts. It's a really well directed film. It references the whole thing of 9/11 and the issue of that and terrorism and the sort of the East and the West, but it's kind of shot like a sort of a handheld guerrilla style. That it's really well put together, I think, and it's one of the films that when I saw it, I was genuinely surprised by how kind of well put together it was.
Yeah, I just want to see before we go into the shutdown of the show and stuff like that, because each week we choose a DVD alternative, but we've decided to throw it open to the people who listen in. So if you have a film that you've seen, specifically a film that's not released this year, try and make it a film that's released in 2011 and beyond that. So past
something different than maybe something that's out that week. If you're able to see what's coming out that week, possibly try and pick something there as well, because it's called the alternative to suggest, if we have loads of comedies out that week, then not a comedy. If we have all action films that week, then maybe a comedy or science fiction or something. If someone's listening, they've got a particular taste of something they want to see in mind and they don't want to watch the other films that are out, then that's why the alternative is there.
Yeah, and so what we want you to do is just send us a tweet. So use the 140 characters and just one tweet just to tell us what you thought of the film, why people should see it. We'll push it to a couple of tweets, but just tell us why people should see that film and try and make it alternative. And like I said, try and make it a film that's released 2011 and prior to 2011. And we'll read them out on the show, because it's getting harder for us to choose films for our DVD alternative, and we just thought it's about time we get people involved.
Well, so that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us live if you have been listening to us on Spreaker at the moment. If you're listening to us on the catch-ups, then you already know we're on things like iTunes, YouTube. We're on... I keep forgetting what the other one is. I always forget it.
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud, that's the one. We are also on Facebook as well, along with our website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can find us on Twitter, which is myself at AHDVD. Stuart is at Cryptic Tadpole, and there's at Monday Movie Show, which if you use Monday Movie Show for any suggestions for the alternative. Until next week, I have been Andrew, and I keep saying this.
Yeah, because I'm not going to see it.
Okay, I'll say I've been Stuart.
No. No. Okay, then this week I'm Stuart.
Yay!
He's having an identity crisis. He thinks he's Andrew and Stuart at the same time. But yeah, I'm not seeing it from next week.
Yeah, next week in the cinema section we'll be covering Sinister and Taken 2. So join us again from next Monday at 7:30, or we will find you.
Bye.